guys, I'm FPL Nymfria and welcome back to the home of FPL videos. I hope you've all kept safe during this difficult time. It is so good to have the football and FPL back in our lives for something to distract ourselves with. In this video, we'll take a look at 4 project restart template teams designed to help aid you on how you could set up your FPL teams with the unlimited transfers, whatever your chip strategy is for game week 30 plus and beyond. Feel free to watch, gather ideas and pick and mix players until you have the perfect balance that sits right for you and your team. Oh, and please don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more FPL content. First up is the all-in free hit draft. This is effectively going all in on the double game week using your free hit chip. This draft is helpful if you are a fan of your team currently and want to ride the double game week without affecting that squad, or if you really just fancy restarting the season with a bit of a bang and you aren't really worried about what happens afterwards. I've gone with Henderson as the goalkeeper here. He's by far the trendiest picks of the goalkeepers for the double game week teams given his fixtures, and he's currently the second highest point scorer for keepers, only 6 points behind Nick Pope in top spot. Stecklenburg takes the budget bench keeper's spot but could be any 3.9 mil keeper that you like. On a free hit team, going for a Sheffield United double up in defence seems like a no-brainer, of course for the fixture reasons. Other than Lord Lundstrom himself, Baldock and Stevens are the top scoring defenders in that team with 115 points and 110 points respectively. This is probably because the attacking freedom Sheffield United defenders play with, especially down the wings. Both have scored twice this season, with Baldock just pipping his teammate on the assists, 4 to Stevens 2. But with a double game week against Villa and Newcastle, albeit both away from home, double clean sheets are certainly a potential prospect. It's slim pickings at Villa as they cling on to the Premier League survival by their fingertips. Target, although not the cheapest defender, is the highest scoring. So if you're really attacking the double game week and need a third Villa player, then why not Target? I'd not expect too much from him, but being as cheap as he is, you can hit and hope with him. Both Lascelles and Stevens are placeholders as they will simply be your bench players. They could be anyone of any similar price. However, Lascelles and Stevens both feature in later drafts where they are in the squad purposefully. Grealish is the only asset from Villa that will get any serious consideration from FPL managers. Any attacking threat Villa create almost always goes through Grealish and through McGinn before his injury, to be fair to him. They are on all the set pieces, the penalties. Between them, they've scored nearly a third of Villa's 32 league goals this season and over a quarter of the assists attributed to those goals. Grealish has 7 goals and 7 assists, whereas McGinn has 3 goals and 2 assists, but he's only really featured in 18 of them games. Realistically, with the form Villa have been in, getting more than 6 points from these lads will be a bonus. At just 4.7 mil, Saka is a potential budget option for the Arsenal double game week. He burst onto the scene this season, filling in well at the back after the injuries to Klosniak and the new signing Tierney. In the last 6 game weeks, when he was much more of a regular in the first team, he helped Arsenal to their best form of the season, contributing 3 assists as the Gunners went unbeaten in those 6 games. This also included 2 clean sheets, which is actually half of the season total for the Gooners. Obviously, he's not guaranteed a spot in the starting 11, with the fitness and the selection aforementioned Klosniak and Tierney, but with the games only 3 days apart and 5 substitutes per game, Arteta may favour the young fresh legs of Saka over the previously injured ones of the other 2. Now, you didn't think I'd give you a free hit draft for the double game week and not have it feature any City players, did you? If you're going to triple Man City, then you may as well go all out with the 3 biggest. KDB has by far the most points and maybe more importantly in a double game week the most minutes played of any outfield player at City, which puts him in the spotlight for many FPL teams. He hasn't been his most prolific in the last few game weeks before the postponement, with a goal and an assist against West Ham, his only attacking returns of the last 4 games. However, if you look further back, they are part of 4 goals and 8 assists in 12 games leading up to the big pause, which simple math suggests an attacking return every game on average. Aguero's minutes are always at risk of being too low for FPL managers, especially when he's pretty much shared the striking duties evenly with Jesus. But we all know what Aguero can do, even with the minutes he does get, illustrated perfectly by the 6 games he scored across the fixtures in game week 22 to 24. Although he did fail to find the net in the following 4 games. He is still in the hunt for the Golden Boot though, only 3 behind current leader Vardy with 19 goals. So he'll be running for that accolade for sure. Sterling has been hit and miss this season, dropping off a bit more recently after having a blistering start to the season where he netted 5 goals in 3 games. His last attacking return was back in game week 19 when he got a brace against Wolves, so he's definitely due a haul to justify managers spending 11.7 on him, especially when he's been outscored by teammate Mahrez, who is only 8.5 million. As previously said, if you're buying someone from Arsenal, then it's pretty much going to be Aubameyang every time. He's the most explosive and consistent attacking threat the Gunners have. Aubameyang and his 17 goals is the one player between the aforementioned Aguero and Vardy in the race for the Golden Boot. Aubameyang tends to score his goals in patches of a few game weeks, and having scored 3 in the last 2 game weeks before his blank against West Ham, hopefully he's on for another scoring run. In terms of form, Tammy was not at the top of the pile back in the spring, having only notched up 2 goals and 2 assists in his last 11 games, although his last appearance against Spurs only lasted 19 minutes. It is more the fixture as to why he's made it into this squad, and particularly the starting 11, that being against stragglers Aston Villa. Last time he played against his former side, he got a goal and an assist in game week 15, and he tends to perform against the teams lower at the bottom of the table, with sides like Norwich, Watford and Villa amongst his double-figure points hauls. So I know he's not a double game week player, but he could be worth some serious consideration. Next up is the bench boost with a wildcard draft team. This draft can be helpful if you are looking to use your bench boost chip but have a wildcard to feature later in the season. There are a few survivors from the all-in free hit squad. Henderson, Target, Grealish, KDB, Aguero, Aubameyang and Abraham all make it into the bench boost with a wildcard draft team. The reasons for their selection are the same for the previous squad, so no need to go over it again. However, there has been some changes elsewhere in the squad, either due to budget or picking a single game week player over double game week players because they arguably have a better fixture for potential returns. Other than Aubameyang, there aren't many Arsenal players that stand out for FPL managers, but with the second most saves in the league, 104, with just Newcastle Dubravka above him with 116, when it comes to the keepers for the double game week teams, Leno only has Henderson above him in the FPL points table. He's reasonably close to the Blade's shot stopper as well, just 14 points behind him on 108 points. In comparison, Edison is down on 82 points, and of course Reina right down on 19 points, but he has only played 6 games. Arsenal did keep 3 clean sheets in the final 4 games before the postponement, so the defence was beginning to solidify, so hopefully the shutdown hasn't ruined any of that momentum. With Egan and O'Connell, we are keeping the Sheffield United double up at the back to support Henderson, just a slightly cheaper combo than the Baldock-Stevens partnership last time. Egan and O'Connell are no slouches though, both have point totals in the 90s, placing them in the top 14 on the defenders list. Attacking returns is not so much of a threat though from these two, as they can only boast to having an assist each so far this season, but it's their contribution to the Blades' 10 clean sheets where you'd be aiming to get your points from. Laporte has been added as the 3rd City double game week player in this draft. He's been plagued by injury this season and this has caused some rotation. I believe he is fit currently, although I'm not entirely sure, and has been added as a nostalgic pick given his double game week points in previous seasons. With the 3rd striker position going to Abraham, that means other Wolves assets are required for the away trip to West Ham. Wolves were one of the in-form sides in late February, early March. Doherty would be the perfect pick here if cash was available, as one of the Wolves' star performers with a goal and 2 assists in his last 3 games, and along with 4 clean sheets out of 5 games, totaling 40 points over those 5 games from game week 25 to game week 29. But budget in this draft likely shifts us to Sace or Bolly instead. Dendoncker is back in his regular spot though as a cheap 4.4 enabler that is pretty reliable for playing 90 minutes each week, only failing to complete a full 90 minutes 6 times in 29 games. I've kept Mane in this draft solely because most of us will have cash tied up in Mane or Salah, which if you were to sell now could prove more difficult to get back down the line. fine. However, if you didn't care about this, you could consider Mahrez here. Mahrez is the cheaper alternative to Sterling, although to his credit, he's currently doing better than his City teammate, albeit only by 3 points. Both him and Raheem have had their minutes limited through rotation, but then that's Pep Roulette for you. Mahrez had only completed 90 minutes on 7 occasions in the last 16 league games, but has managed to get on the score sheet 5 times in those 16 game weeks, as well as providing the same number of assists. At only 8.5 million, City having 2 home fixtures could prove a shrewd way into that City double game week attack. However, it's anyone's guess on how Sané's return to the squad may affect this. However, if you have your bench boost and want to use it but don't obtain your wildcard, you could consider a draft like this. The bench boost with no wildcard draft isn't far off of the bench boost with a wildcard draft. However, you may wish to keep the likes of Trent given the value you have tied up in him, especially if you want him moving forward. This means the double game week players you carry may have to be a little cheaper, such as Reina for Leno as your second goalkeeper and Fleck instead of Grealish. You'd also likely have to roll with either one of Aubameyang or Aguero up front with the likes of Jimenez for cash reasons. However, this team does allow you to drop Aguero or Aubameyang at their high price tag to someone such as Rashford just after the double and reinvest that cash in midfield for Fleck or Saka dependent on their game week 30 plus results. This no chips draft is here to help you if you have no chips left and you need to navigate the rest of your season with your unlimited transfers. This draft is based on the remaining fixtures for the season and has considered the form of players previous to the postponement. This is a great way to half and half your team. Feel free to take this draft, add a few more double game week players that appeal to you, but do consider how to get back to this team once the double is over. With that said, this draft has gone with Pope as goalkeeper. He's the highest scoring keeper in the game so far this season, so we're not thinking too hard about this. He's got the most points of all goalkeepers with 128 and the most clean sheets of 11. What more do you need? If there's no need for a backup keeper, then as before, the 3.9 million of Stekelenburg will do. Lascelles could be Taylor in this draft, but with the uncertainty of defence going forward, I've edged the draft bets by adding in a defender from a different team, given Newcastle's fixtures look okay in the immediate future. Trent needs no explanation. He's one of those seasoned keepers, and you can almost always rely on Trent to get you some form of return, whether that's from one of his 11 clean sheets, 2 goals or 14 assists this season. In fairness, he's only had 2 assists in the last 6 game weeks, both of which were against West Ham in game week 27. But there's always a chance of a points haul here, let's be honest, especially as the Reds hurry to get that title win. Those Wolves fixtures just look far too tempting not to have Doherty in your team, especially if he carries his pre-lockdown form into these final game weeks. Again, you could go with one of his cheaper counterparts if you needed to. Lascelles and Stevens are both mainly in this draft because of price, and with a mix of good and bad fixtures for the remaining game weeks, they tend to rotate fairly well together as a pair. When it comes to the form players making an impact on the league, you can't look past Fernandes, notching up 2 goals and 3 assists in the 5 Premier League games he's played in a United shirt, amassing 38 FPL points. We can only hope the return of Pogba makes Fernandes an even greater FPL asset option to own moving forward. If you're not able to go all in on the doublers with a free hit chip, then it's hard to look past keeping Mane or Salah in your team. As suggested before, there have been rumours of Salah carrying an injury. This means that Mane is probably the standout Liverpool attacking asset. He was also in red hot form before the league postponement, as his 3 goals and assist in 4 appearances after he returned from injury helped propel Liverpool to within 2 wins of their first Premier League title. Man City have a double game week of home fixtures, and with Kevin being their most consistent player, especially when it comes to minutes played, which in a team of Pep Roulette get and the added rotation teams will face in the next few weeks, minutes could be precious for us FPL managers. Coming in at just 5 million, John Fleck is enough of a budget option in that midfield to help fund some bigger names alongside him. What he lacks in price he makes up in reliability, playing 90 minutes in every league game he's featured in this season, all except for a 20-minute run out against Palace in game week 2 where he was injured and missed the next 2 fixtures. He's contributed attacking returns too, 5 goals and 2 assists so far, the last of which was in the 1-1 draw against Arsenal in game week 23. Basically he has the double game week, and as a regular starter at just 5 million, at the very least he'll do the job as a bench asset if required. Grealish is added for his double game week prospects as mentioned earlier in the video. When it comes to the front line, there may not be any big hitters price wise, but there's certainly big hitters points wise. These 3 strikers make up half of the top 6 forwards in the FPL so far this season. Jimenez top of the 3 in 3rd with 147 points, Marcus and Tammy following him in 5th and 6th with 134 points and 131 points respectively. Tammy has been a mainstay in these teams, highlighted for his ability to score big points against opposition from lower down the table. In the 9-week run into the end of the season he faces Villa, West Ham, Watford and Norwich, all of whom will be in the relegation survival scrap, which could leave them exposed to the quickness of someone like Tammy, especially on the counter as they go forward looking for vital points. The lockdown has provided Rashford with a second chance of increasing his scoring tally, as he's set to be fully fit from the injury that looked like it had prematurely ended his season. United fans and FPL owners alike will hope he picks up where he left off, with 7 goals and an assist in the last 8 game weeks before the injury in game week 22 is certainly attractive form. His season had been that good that even though he's missed the last 7 game weeks, he's still got more league goals than his strike partners in this team. Next to Tammy and Rashford we have Raul Jimenez. The Mexican has been Mr. Consistent for FPL managers with 13 goals and 6 assists so far this season, 5 of those goals coming in the last 7 game weeks. So, heading into pretty much a field of green fixtures for the remainder of the season, Jimmy looks set to score some big points over the coming weeks. This draft is likely to leave you with some cash in the bank, giving you wiggle room to add a double game week player or 2. But, as always, remember the cash you have stored up in a player and a route to getting back to them after the double game week. The Fantasy Football Fit Squad Rotation Planner and projected points for each player can really help with this planning, so make sure you check that out. At this point I'd like to say a massive thanks to you all for making me a finalist in the Football Content Awards for the 2nd year running. I honestly can't say thank you enough. There's still time to vote for me though if you'd like to make me your winner by following the link in the description below. Whilst there in the description, feel free to check out my sponsors fantasyfootballfix.com. And that's it, Nym fam. I hope this has helped. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Until next time, Nymfria out. Oh, it's good to be back.